So picture this. You're at a party, right? The music is playing in the background. Um, Maybe you've got a drink in your hand, and you are just making small talk with a stranger.
Oh, I know exactly where this is going.
Right. It's inevitable. And then it happens. The inescapable question drops. They look at you and say, so what do you do? And suddenly, your mind just goes entirely blank.
Completely blank. It's like you forget your own life.
Yes, you perform this complex, multifaceted role for 40 hours a week, maybe more, and yet somehow you freeze. You just find yourself stumbling over your words, and ultimately you string together this sentence that makes it sound like you vaguely dabble in spreadsheets.
Yeah, you really just end up completely underselling yourself. It happens to everyone.
Totally. So today on this deep dive, we are dissecting the exact vocabulary you need to stop doing that. We're going to figure out how to stop underselling yourself and, start commanding your professional narrative.
Because it really is the great universal icebreaker. But it exposes a massive gap in how we operate. I mean, we spend an enormous percentage of our waking lives executing our work, right? Yeah. Developing our skills, navigating office politics.
Oh, for sure. So much time.
Right. But the actual language we use to frame that work to the outside world, it's almost always an afterthought. We just default to the easiest, most passive descriptions because we assume the work should just speak for itself.
Which is such a trap, isn't it?
It's a huge trap. Yeah. Because the reality of human psychology is that the work never speaks for itself. You have to speak for it.
Exactly. And that is the exact trap we are breaking out of on today's deep dive. We are exploring the mechanics of professional signaling, and we're using a really great excerpt from a professional English guide. It's titled Mastering Job and Career Conversations.
It's a fantastic resource for this.
It really is. So the core mission of this deep dive today is to explore the mechanics and the vocabulary of how we talk about our professional lives. And we're going to use a conversation from the text between two professionals, we'll call them Sarah and James, as our roadmap.
And, it's important to note right off the bat that this deep dive isn't just about English vocabulary.
Right. It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. It's really about the underlying architecture of professional communication, right? It's about how precise language actively shapes the way our work is perceived by others.
Okay, let's unpack this. The dreaded what do you do question. Why does this basic exchange, why does it carry so much hidden weight?
Well, because it's essentially a rapid-fire assessment of value. In a professional context or, even just a casual networking scenario, the listener is subconsciously trying to place you.
Place you in a hierarchy.
Exactly. They are trying to gauge your competence, your level of responsibility, how you handle pressure, and the specific vocabulary you use provides the architectural framework for how they perceive you.
Wow. So if you build a flimsy framework...
Right. If you use passive weak language, they will assume your professional value is equally flimsy. But, if you use precise active language, you instantly signal that you are a person of consequence.
So to understand how to project that confidence, we have to start with the most basic foundation, which is just stating what we actually do on a daily basis.
Right. The baseline.
The baseline vocabulary. So the guide introduces this primary phrase, what do you do for a living? And of course, its simpler cousin, what do you do? Let's look at our case study from the source, James.
Yeah, James is a great example here.
He really is. So James is a marketing manager at a tech company, and he's been there for 4 years. Now, when Sarah asks him about his job, he doesn't just say, oh, I work with the marketing team.
Which is what most people would say.
Exactly. But instead, he uses a very specific verb. He says he oversees the marketing team. He plans campaigns, and he aligns strategies with the sales department.
What's fascinating here is the sheer psychological density of that single word, oversee.
That's a powerful word.
It really is, because, like we said, most people default to work with or help out. But work with is entirely flat. It's ambiguous.
Yeah.
I mean, it signals collaboration, which is fine, but it deliberately avoids signaling authority.
Right. It's like saying, I am part of a group, but if something goes wrong, it's not my fault.
Precisely. It distributes the risk. But to oversee something, that implies authority. It implies being in charge and ensuring things are done correctly, whether that's a team or just a project. It immediately establishes a tone of competence.
I love that. I was thinking using a strong verb like oversee instead of help with. It's kind of like giving someone a firm professional handshake instead of a weak one.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy. Yes, it sets the tone immediately.
But, okay, I have to push back a little here.
Sure.
Because I'm thinking about you, the listener, who might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm just an entry-level analyst. If I run around telling people I oversee things, I'm going to sound ridiculous. So does this mean every job needs to sound like a management role? Or is it just about owning your specific responsibilities?
That's a really valid pushback. And no, you shouldn't inflate your title. It really is about ownership. You might not oversee a team of 50 people, but you might oversee the weekly data reports.
Right. Okay, so it's the task itself.
Exactly. You oversee a process. It just shows that you own the outcome of whatever your specific responsibility is.
That makes total sense. So once you've established what you are currently doing, the natural evolution of a professional conversation is exploring the timeline, right?
Yep.
Like how you got there and where you were going.
The trajectory.
Exactly, the career trajectory. And the source has this really surprising detail about James. He didn't always want to be in marketing.
Right. He was a business major.
Yeah, he studied business in university. He didn't really know what field to enter. And then he says he fell into marketing after his first internship. He fell into it.
Which is such a common idiom.
Yeah.
To fall into something, it basically means ending up in a situation or a job without really planning it.
Just sort of by accident.
Yeah, completely unplanned.
Yeah.
And, connecting this to the bigger picture, it just shows how common this really is. Career paths are rarely straight lines.
Oh, almost never.
Right. Most of us just, fall into things based on an opportunity or a random connection.
But then the text pivots to James's ambitious future. And the vocabulary totally shifts.
It really does.
When he talks about the future, he says he wants to move up in his company. Specifically, he's hoping to get promoted to director in the next couple of years.
Move up. Notice the contrast there.
Yeah. It's so stark. I mean, falling into is so passive and accidental, like gravity just took over. But moving up is highly active.
Extremely
It's intentional. It requires promotion and actual advancement. You have to climb.
And that shift in language shows that he has taken control of his professional narrative. He might have started by accident, but his future is entirely on purpose.
I love that. Now, James's trajectory, it represents this really classic corporate ladder, right? Which provides a perfect contrast to our other professional in the source, Sarah.
Yes. Sarah took a very different path.
She took a completely different approach to her work structure. So let's look at Sarah's situation. The text tells us she is a graphic designer, and about 2 years ago, she left her full-time job.
Right. Working regular hours for one specific employer.
Exactly. She left that to become freelance.
Yeah.
And the text details her experience working for herself, taking on different clients. When James asks her about it, Sarah describes the freelance life as challenging but rewarding.
Challenging but rewarding. It's such a loaded phrase, isn't it?
Totally loaded. What does it actually mean in this context?
Well, if we break down the specific duality she's facing, the reward is obviously flexibility.
Right, setting your own hours, working from a coffee shop.
Exactly. But the challenge is the sheer responsibility of it all. You have to find your own clients, manage your own schedule, handle the billing, the taxes.
The admin stuff is endless.
It really is. And emphasizing this choice between full-time and freelance, it radically alters not just your daily tasks, but your entire professional vocabulary and your mindset.
How so?
Well, as a freelancer, you aren't just an employee anymore. You are a business entity. You have to project stability and reliability constantly because every client interaction is essentially a job interview.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that totally changes the stakes. Which actually leads us perfectly into the next section. We've discussed these sort of casual conversations and career structures, but how does this language shift when the stakes are really raised, like in an actual job interview?
That's where things get highly structural.
Right. And the source gives us some great formal phrasing for this. It recommends 2 key structures for describing your daily tasks in a formal setting. The first is, I'm responsible for, followed by the main tasks. So like, I'm responsible for managing a budget, or I'm responsible for training employees.
And the second one?
The second is a little more formal. It's, my main duties include.
Both of those are excellent because they are incredibly precise. They leave no room for guessing.
They really don't. And the text has this great role-play exercise to show this in action. Sarah and James do a mock interview. And when Sarah asks James to walk through his responsibilities, he doesn't just say, I do marketing stuff.
Right, he doesn't fall back on that vague, easy language.
Exactly. Instead, he is highly specific. He says he's leading a team of 5 people, planning quarterly campaigns, reporting directly to the marketing director, and handling communication with external partners.
It's a masterclass in specificity.
It really is. And here's where it gets really interesting. Think about the power of James's answer. It's like, okay, imagine you're looking at a photograph.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If you use vague language, like I do marketing stuff, it's like handing the interviewer a blurry photograph. They have to squint. They have to work hard to figure out what they're even looking at. Right?
Right, they have to fill in the blanks themselves, and people don't like doing that kind of mental work.
Exactly. But precise, specific language, like James listing his exact team size and who he reports to, that brings your professional value into sharp, undeniable focus. It's a high-definition photo.
I completely agree with that analogy because precise language makes a speaker sound significantly more professional and confident. When you are specific, you remove the risk for the listener.
You make it easy for them to see your value.
Right. And I really encourage everyone listening to critically examine their own default answers. Think about what you say when someone asks you what you do. Are you handing them a blurry photo?
Oh, that's such a good point. We all need to look at where our answers might be a little too vague.
Absolutely. It's the quickest way to elevate how you are perceived.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to recap our mission today. We've explored how the words we choose, whether it's overseeing a project or moving up in a company, how they signal our competence to the world.
And the source leaves us with a really powerful final piece of advice for the listener.
Yes, the final exercise. The guide insists that you have to practice this out loud. So here are the 3 questions from the source for you, the listener, to answer for yourself.
Get a pen ready, or just, speak them to the room.
Exactly. Number 1, what do you do for a living? Or what would you like to do in the future? Number 2, what are your main responsibilities at work or school? And number 3, what's one career goal you're working toward right now?
This raises an important question, though. Why does the source insist on saying these answers out loud? Why can't we just think them in our heads?
Oh, right. Why the vocalization?
Because vocalizing the words is how the vocabulary actually sticks.
Really? Just saying it out loud changes it.
Yes. When you hear yourself say, I am responsible for this, it builds muscle memory. It bridges the gap between knowing your value and actually being comfortable claiming it in a high-pressure situation.
I love that. You have to get comfortable hearing your own authority.
Okay.
Which brings me to a final sort of provocative thought I want to leave you with today to mull over.
Oh, let's hear it.
We've talked a lot about how vague language makes you seem less professional to others, right? But I want you to think about this. How does the language you use to describe your own job quietly shape the way you value your own work on a daily basis?
Wow, that's a really profound way to look at it.
Right. If you are constantly telling yourself, I just help out, maybe you start to believe your contributions don't matter as much. But if you own your language, you own your value.
It's an internal framework just as much as an external one.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And remember to keep practicing those answers out loud.
Yes, definitely. Take control of your narrative.
Catch you next time.